Hello everybody, this is TriumWeir412 taking a look at the game Classic-2, which I played on webdiplomacy.net. I controlled France. My plans as far as supply centers went was to obviously have my original three, take the two Iberian centers of Spain and Portugal, and then to move my attention north, taking the three English centers. Once that was done, I was going to try and turn into the Mediterranean and take the rest of my centers from there, keying in towards the coastal centers mostly, but perhaps not all those centers. But that would give me my 18 and the win. So we'll see how that strategy worked out for me. At the beginning of the game, I was able to work out non-aggression agreements with Italy and Germany. I had worked one out with England, but he broke it right away, so I went to war with him. I gave up one of my builds in the first season just so that Brest would be available for a build, and was able to put a new fleet in the north. That really, combined with Germany getting a unit into North Sea, was the nail in England's coffin. We were able to make progress against him in 1902, and Russia as well, taking Norway from him. And at this point in the game, England drops out. He doesn't submit any retreats in the spring of 1902, and he stopped submitting orders. I'm able to take London, and then the next year, with German help, in the fall, we eliminate England altogether. I move into Liverpool. Germany supports, or convoys me rather, into Edinburgh, and England's eliminated. In that very same turn, I turn on Italy. Up until this point, you see we've had this nice, due to our non-aggression pact, we've had this nice neutral zone: Piedmont, Lyon, Western Med, and North Africa. And he is focusing all of his units in the east, so I'm able to move a fleet down into Western Med, and then also to build a new fleet in Marseille, giving me two in the Mediterranean immediately. So a nicely timed move, I think, on my part to start off a good stab against Italy. And at this point, it should be obvious, I suppose, but my alliance with Germany is fairly strong. So I focus on my attack on Italy, start moving units in that direction, and I thought I was doing fairly well second-guessing him. I'm able to take Tyrrhenian Sea in this turn, as you can see, and then once we get through the builds here, he expects I'll move to Piedmont, but instead I get myself into Tuscany. That allows me to force my way into Piedmont the next turn, and also to take Tunis. So I'm doing fairly well, making progress, but then a little mishap. I had a fleet here that was forced to disband because of the way it was attacked and being completely surrounded by other units. Then in the adjustment phase, I only build one where I was able to build two. I meant to build a second unit here in Marseille, but that doesn't happen for whatever reason. Then in that next spring, I lose this army in Tuscany, and so things start to, I won't say fall apart, but crumble a little bit. Not going as well. I stopped making the progress that I was hoping to be making in Italy, which is problematic. I've gained one center since moving into the Mediterranean in 03. So I decide after that year, with Austrian help, which he offered to me, to stab my ally Germany. Austria supports me into Munich. I convoy down into Holland, and I have easy access in the next turn here to Belgium. I'm not able to hold Munich, but I can easily take Kiel instead. So I thought I was doing okay. I went from gaining one unit in 3 years to gaining 3 units in 1 year. But I realized at this point that the reason Austria wanted me to stab Germany, the reason he helped me to stab Germany, was to destroy our alliance. Austria in a fairly tight alliance at this point with Russia, and the two of them could not make progress against the two of us, but after my stab of Germany, that would open the door for them to make some real pushes into our territory, as you'll see. So after the German disbands, I start talking to him, telling him I'm sorry that it was a dirty trick of Austria to get me to stab him, and that I will move back out of his territories. I try to do so, but he stops me, and then again in the fall he blocks my moves. And I was honest about wanting to rebuild our alliance and to defend the territories he had, but if I were him, I would not have believed me either. It was a big stab on a long-standing ally. He should have rightly been very slow to accept my apology. But finally, in 1909, he does accept it. I talked to him quite a bit and explained to him exactly what I want to try to do to stop Russia's advance. And so he accepts. We rebuild our alliance, and instead of giving him back all 3 territories that I take from him, I only give back 1. So I still gain something from my stab, which was good. Also in 1909, aside from just reforming my alliance with Germany, I take an Italian center. Russia takes one as well, but then in the fall I immediately take Russia's away from him. So I start to make some steady progress down in the Mediterranean after my awful stab attempt on Germany that doesn't really help a great deal. I'm able to start making progress in the south. And that progress continues slowly and steadily for several years. I'm able to take one center here, move one army forward to support here. So it's very slow, but it is steady, and it goes until you can see up in this corner the year is getting quite late. 1912, and the game is still going, but we're still making progress. That continues until 1913, when Germany fails to submit orders. Would have been an important year, would have gotten armies in place to make attacks on more Russian home centers, but instead Germany ends up losing his center of Berlin. So we make a plan, he comes back, and we make a plan to get him back in Berlin and to keep Austria out. But Austria doesn't move the way we expect him to, and so although we do take Berlin, Germany loses Munich to me. Not a stab attempt, just our defensive plan not working out quite the way we thought it would. So in 1914 we come up with a way to get Germany back into Munich, but Germany again is in civil disorder. Really starting to get annoyed that my ally would miss turns, and crucial turns for him. But we continue to work together. In 1914, he comes back in that fall, and he does get back into Munich. He does get his army over in place in Livonia to start making attacks against Russian home centers. But at this point, I have really had enough of the civil disorder. I have 14 centers coming out of 1914, and so we form a plan for Germany to move his front forward, and I attack him from behind. I take Munich, Kiel, and Sweden all in the spring, and he has no units in position to force me out of those territories, and on top of those 17, I have free access to Denmark. And so in my second stab against Germany, I take my 18th center and win the game in 1915. 30 turns. So not exactly the way I expected to take things. I took several German centers, which I expected to leave in his hands and rather take these coastal centers down in the Mediterranean. But when I was stalled down there, I was able to alter my strategy, take different centers, and still take the 18 center win. So I was fairly happy with how the game went, how my strategy worked, and mostly of my flexibility and some of the diplomatic things I was able to accomplish. So if you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear them, and thanks for watching.